Hey, hello friends and welcome again to I Think Technologies. In this particular video, I have planned and actually we have planned to create a to-do list only using HTML, JavaScript and very little CSS. So you'll be knowing a lot of concepts which you might be not knowing, and this is going to be a fun little project. So let's see how we can do it. So first of all, let's start by starting our terminal as always and navigating to the desktop basically. Now we have the desktop. Let's create a file. Let's create a folder. Mkdir is used for creating a folder, and let's name our project. Let's name our projects. What should I name? What should we name our project? uh, To-do list. Okay, and you can go to this particular thing called to-do list, and let's open it in Visual Studio Code. So that will open it in Visual Studio Code basically. Very simple thing. If you got confused like how I did it, what you have to do is, as you can see here, here it has been opened in a Visual Studio Code. So if you're confused like how I did like this from the command line, if you're confused, you can do the same thing by going to file, open folder, and you can select the folder which you want to which you want for the development. That's great. Now the next thing which we'll be doing is creating a file, and let's name this file as index.html. This will be the main HTML file. Okay, and let's quickly you can do this by simply pressing this exclamation mark and hitting enter. You'll get the basic markup. Okay, so let's name it to-do list, and let's name it our dope to-do list. So our dope to-do list. Okay, and let's save this. So that's basically and to see this, basically what I'm using is I'm using a extension called live server. Now this extension enables me to see all the changes as soon as I save the file. So this is a very handy and very useful extension, live server. You can also install if you want, and that's great. So now I want to say that how to start this server. You can start this server by simply right clicking and open with live server. So once you click this will automatically open this particular website in your browser. In my case, it will not open because my default browser is Mozilla Firefox, and I don't know, it is crashing as you can see. So what I'll do is I'll open it in Chromium. Okay, so let's wait for the Chromium to open. So my Chromium browser has successfully opened, and let's quickly put the URL, which is this one, and hit enter. So you can see our basically this thing is rendering as per what we want. Now let's place this one side, let's place this in the other side, just okay, and let's close this particular thing. By the way, you can press Ctrl B to close and open the sidebar. Okay, now let's make a div, not viv, actually div. Let's make a div. What we are doing, I don't know. Well, let's make a div. Let's put an input element inside that, and let's give an ID. Let's give an ID text. So this is the text which the user will be giving. Let's make a button, and let's call it submit button or add button. Okay, and then let's make another button called clear button. This will basically give an ability to clear all the to-dos which you add. And let's go and add an ID called add, and let's go and give an ID of clear. That's simple. Okay, so as you can see, this has given it add and clear. Now let's do a little bit of styling. So let's create a new file called style.css, and let's now link this page to our very page. So let's call it style. We can do it basically like actually a link CSS, and now the name, basically our name is also style.css, so that will automatically do its works. So that's something really great. Now let's move forward quickly, and let's see, let's try to make any of these things look better. So let's now give some class name to this. Let's say input form or input or text or something, what to call it, area. Now let's reference it from here and say that I want a padding of 10 pixel and I want a border of 1 pixel solid, and the color should be this. Okay, now the next thing what I want is, you can see this the next thing what I want is this input text is looking really ugly, so let's make it look like a little better. So we'll say that the text which is an ID, I want to give in padding of like 5 pixel, and I want to give in font color, font size of about 16 pt. I don't know, yeah, it's looking better. And for every button that we have, we want to give in padding of about 10 pixel, about 5 pixel. I think 5 pixel will be enough, and 7 pixel in the sides, like that. No, 10. Okay. okay, let it be like that. That's also fine. Okay, and next thing what we'll be doing is, let's give some color to this. So color, maybe blue violet will look nice. I don't know, I want to give it as a background color, so not color. And I want to remove the border to none, basically. Yeah, basically that will add. And let's increase the font size here as well. So font size will be 16, same 16 pt, and then I think the both could match, so we can go for 5 pixel over here, vertical. Now you can see we have add and we have clear, basically, and you can you can write the to do and add. Basically nothing is happening right now. I don't want to focus a lot on CSS. You can make it look way much more better than mine, so basically okay, so just this is temporary, so that's how it is. Now let's add a JavaScript file, so we can add script .js. Basically this will be a JavaScript file, and let's quickly link this with the HTML file which we have. We can say script and then src is equal to dot slash script.js, and that's basically it. We have successfully linked our HTML file with the JavaScript file. And let's try alert function to really test it, really know that it's working. So let's say open, it's working. You can see that. That's great. Now the first thing is, we'll just grab all these elements by their ID. So we'll say let the text which is there be document dot get element by ID, and the ID is actually text. Okay, the next thing is, we have the submit button. So submit button is equal to document dot get element by ID, and the ID is I don't know, I forget what is the ID. The ID is add. Okay, so let's put add as an ID of this particular thing. And the next thing is, we have the clear, right? So clear thing, and let's call it document dot get element by ID, and the ID is, I hope so, clear. Let's cross check. Yeah, that's the ID. So basically we have all the three items which we want. Now basically what we want is, let's create a to-dos array, and that this will basically contain all the arrays which we'll be creating. And now we want to say that whenever we click submit, so when on click, and this will basically set the on click listener. So if I log this and say test and save it and open my console, sorry, I don't want to do it here, I want to do it over here. Control Shift I will basically open this. If you don't, if you find difficulty in that, you can go to more tools and developer tools, and that will basically open your console. So if I add click, you can see this test is being logged that many times, means this click listener is successfully working. So now let's let's take the value, let's take out the value whatever the user has written in this input field. So we can say that this will be our to do text. So to do text basically is equal to whatever text we have dot value. Okay, and this will be the value which we have, this to do text. The next thing which we have is the we have the to do. Let's create the real to do. So this is the to do text, and this will contain two things. First is the value, which is the text. So this is the to do text, and basically a done parameter, so that will contain false. So initially any to do will be not done, that's something obvious. And let's add this to our to do's basically. Now as you can see, we are adding the to do's to this particular thing. So this is dope, and if I click add, that will be basically added, but we are not seeing anything over here. The reason is that the to do's here, the to do's are not rendered as any element. So let's make a function to do that. So function reload to do reload to do, and then basically this will be reloading the to do. So let's say let's loop through the to do's. So let's say for let I equals 0, I less than to do's dot length, and the I plus plus, let current to do be equals to the to do's s at I. So this will be the current to do which we are working with. Now let's create an element. So let's say this as an element, or to do element, we can say to do element, and we can say document dot create element. Basically this function creates an element as its name suggests, so that's very much obvious. And let's create a div element over here. And for now let's simply add the to do element dot the text content, but that is basically the text inside this, to be whatever value we have, or the current to do. So current to do dot value, so that will add basically the value of the current to do. And I hope so that was very much understandable. So basically we have created this, but we haven't added this to anywhere. So let's create some place where we can place all these things. So let's call it div, and let's give it an ID called res. Basically this will be the result of all the things, and let's now reference this over here. So let's call it let res is equal to document dot get element by ID, and that will be basically the res. Okay, and now let's quickly append this dot append function actually appends any element to this thing, to any other element. So basically if we go and type this add, nothing is happening because we haven't called that function yet. And push, this will be to do's, not like that. And let's call it, I think, reload to do's, yeah, and save it. And if we just go add, and you can see our to do's are added, but they are like looking horrible. So let's do some interesting things so that they look a bit good. So for each to do which we do, we want to say to do element or dot class list, basically dot add class list, adds a class to its class list, of course. And let's name it as a to do element, and let's copy this up and go to a style and basically style this thing up. Very simple. As we are adding it as a class, so we can say this, and we can say we want a padding of 10 pixel, margin of 10 pixel, then we want a box shadow of 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 15 pixel, slash DDDD, but that's like a little bit of grayish color. And what else? Font size, I think font size should be like what should be this, 16 pt, yeah, that would be great. So let's go and try again. So basically when we type anything, add, you can see they are looking much more better now as compared to the previous times. Okay, great. So now we are able to add the to-dos. Great. The next thing which we want to do is you want to add, we can add the to-dos. Next thing which we want to implement is this checkbox button. So whenever we click checkbox, it should cut that thing, it should strike out that thing. And let's do it. So how we can do that, how we can implement that function? So basically that is also simple. So let's say, and let's create another element, call it checkbox. So checkbox is equal to document dot create element, and basically I want to create an element called input. Okay, and let's check it, the uh, checkbox dot type to uh, to the checkbox, I hope so, and checkbox dot checked to whatever the current to do dot done value is there. So if it is done, we'll be saying that this will be checked, otherwise it will not be checked. This is the default value. Okay, so if we now, there's basically no change in that thing. So basically we have to append this into our to do element actually. So let's call it to do element dot append this particular checkbox, whatever we have, and let's save that, and let's click add, and you can see a checkbox has been added. Okay, great, but let's make it a little bit bigger so that you can see properly. Okay, so let's we have added a checkbox, but this should be here, right? So this should not be here. So to do that, let's do something. So we can go here, we can go to our to do element, and we can say this individual element, right? So I think, yeah, so I'll say display flex, display flex, and justify content. I'll explain you what I'm typing, don't worry, just let me write this. Justify content align item center. So this will basically, no, I didn't want to do that. I actually want a space between, I don't know, I usually used to do that with with most of the time. So as you can see, this is happening, this is working, right? The next thing what we want to do is basically to the next thing which we want to do is basically, if you go and right, so if you can see unit, you can check the boxes and you can mark this complete, and but this is not working actually. This is not changing our data set. So if I go and if I add another thing, you can see, and one more thing, one more problem is there. So it's adding everything again. Okay, the problem is it's adding everything again. So this is like, if I refresh the page and if I add it's adding once, then twice, and then all that is a problem, because we are not clearing this particular area, this particular on every render. So for that, what we'll do is we'll just say res.inner html is equal to blank on every render. So that will solve this issue. This is great, and add. You can see that problem has been solved. Now let's code for this one, this checkbox. So whenever this is clicked, this actually works. So what we can do is we can go to this checkbox and say let checkbox. Okay, so we can directly say checkbox dot on change. Basically, whenever there's a change in the state of this checkbox, we're going to call this event. And basically what we're going to do is we want to say that a checkbox, basically what we're going to do is we want to say that to-dos at I dot done is equal to whatever the state is, simply set, like if it's true, set false. If it is false, set true. I hope so you can understand this, right? And this will work, but the problem is this is not reflected. This is great, and if I add this, okay, and if I do this, basically that worked. But if I you can see that is already checked, so that does not disappear, right? So that does not go, went away. So that's something great. Now what we want to do, another thing is, whenever this is done, like this is like someone checks this thing, I want to add a class to this to this thing, strikeout. So we'll say strike. So basically this class, whenever we apply this class, this will strike out that particular thing. So text decoration, I think what is that, line through or something like that, line through. So this will basically check that out. So how we can do this, whenever this is clicked, we want to say that to do element, basically this one, dot to do element dot dot class list dot add. What do you want to add? We don't want to add, we want to toggle. Okay, so class list dot toggle, we want to toggle the class name. Now what is the class name? Strike. strike, and let's see that does that work or not. So this is great, and okay, yeah, you can see that that works. Okay, but the thing is, if you save this, and if you add another thing, this state is lost. So that is very simple to fix. Basically, we want to say like if the current to do dot done is false. So basically we like this. So if it is not true, simply do the same thing, to dot class list dot not toggle actually dot add. So we'll say dot add strike and save this. So we'll say um, this is quite dope. So just add, oh, okay man, the thing is this will be like, if it is true, then this is whenever done, we want to check the thing when it's done. So this is dope, and let's add it few times, check this up, the strikes, and whenever we add new one, the state is preserved. So now you can see that this is actually working like a charm. So basically you can add and the thing will not be lost. Now let's code for the clear function. So basically this is how these this, let's make it a little bit smaller, this thing works, this little things. The next thing what we want is we want the clear function, right? So let's code the clear function. So let's say function ction function clear. So basically this is a clear function. Clear, let's say clear to do's. Okay, so that will be more explicit. So clear to do's, and this will be very simple. To do's dot clear to do's is equal to a blank thing, and we want to say reload to do. And basically this is a bad habit to use. We are using it here and creating it here. So let's place this below this thing so that this is much more explicit. So we have clear to do's function. So now let's say whenever we clear to do dot on click, whenever this is clicked, we want to call this clear to do function. So that will basically clear the to do's. I think this is not done something like this. This is equal to basically clear to do's function. So basically if we just write this is something great and we add it, and if we just click this thing, that's great. And if we clear this is not working. Why is this not working? Okay, let's remove this from here. Okay, and let's define the function over here only, and let's place this over here. Now this should work, I think. This is great. Okay, and let's add it few times, and basically when you done this, cleared, basically that works. Now the problem is when we add many times and you refresh it, the all the to-dos are lost. Basically we don't want this. We want our to-dos to be saved, okay, in the local storage, so that we can access it afterwards. So let's do one thing. Whenever this save button is clicked, after doing all these things, we want to convert this whatever to-dos we have as JSON. So how we'll be converting this? So we'll say JSON dot parse, basically no data dot stringify actually, and all the to-dos which we have. So to-dos, and if I log this, you'll see what do I mean by this. So JSON, save this, open console, and if I like, let's add some console, and you can see every time we add, actually we'll be saving this value to our local storage, and whenever we whenever we first time load our project, we'll be taking this and setting this as a to-do. So that's the whole plan right now. So let's set it as in our local storage. Now how do we do that? That's very extremely simple. There's something called local storage dot set item. This function actually this function accepts two things. First is the name, so the key. So if later on you want to access this data, you will need this key. Okay, so basically I want to create data as a key and this JSON as the thing which I want to put there. So if I say test, this is great, and add this basically two times, and if I go to my applications, and local storage, you can see this is actually, you have to go to here, this is not open by default. So local storage, and this, you can see this has been successfully saved into our local storage. That's something great. Now let's do one thing, like even if now if we refresh, everything is lost because we are not loading that data back into our project. So how will you do that? That is actually also very, very simple. Let's do it over here. Okay, how will you do this? This is extremely simple. You have to say a window. So whenever this everything is loads up, so window dot on load. So when the load is finished, we're gonna call a function, and we're gonna call this function as let all the JSON which we had is actually JSON, local storage dot get item, and that key, as I've told you, you have to remember that key. So here is the key. So data is actually will give you the object in the object, the storage which is stored by the key data. So now once we receive the JSON, what we want to do is this is actually, if we log it, this is not what we want. So this is not our normal thing. Like if we go to console, and if you just refresh the page, you see you receive it as a string. Okay, so we don't want it as a string, we want it as a JavaScript object. So now how you can do that? That's actually very simple. So let's say let all to dos, so all to dos is equal to, we can say something like JSON dot parse, and you have to give an JSON string over here, and this will convert it to object. Okay, so once we have all the to dos, will this is important now. So before doing this, let's check that whether this is null or not. So what if if any user first time opens our app and there's nothing called data object, so basically at that time this JSON will be null. So let's check. So if it is not null, if basically JSON is not equal to null, so if it is not null, okay, so if something is stored from before, what do you want to do? We want to pass that, and we want to say that to dos is equal to all to dos, and basically I think that's it. So, and one more thing, after this we want to reload the to dos. So basically you can see all the to dos which we had stored already in the database, not in database, actually in local storage. You can see it is rendering. So if I add something like this complete the work, some work, I don't know, some what work. So if we add this and if we refresh now, you can see this is stored basically. So that's something great. Even if you just strike out, and now if you refresh this, okay, that doesn't work. That is actually bad. So what you want to do is okay, when we strike out, this doesn't work, and this is a bug. So now let's fix it. We can do it basically whenever we are adding, then only we are updating the data. So let's make a separate function for that somewhere on the top. So function save to dos. So save to dos, and let's, whatever we have done here actually to save the to do, let's cut it from here and let's paste it over here. So that will basically save the to dos, and we want to call it on basically here basically, for sure. So save to do, and the other thing we want to do is we want to say whenever, like if we click this, we want to save the to do, because at that time the data is changed. And don't worry about like overwriting, because don't worry about getting too much data in the local storage. Actually this overwrites, so whatever you are having before, it overwrites them. So this will never be like something crazy. So now if we refresh this is as it is. Now if we check it out and refresh this, you can see this is check it out, because we have simply saved those to dos from this data, from the strikeout data, from getting lost. So that is something great. So that was it, guys. I hope so you enjoyed this tutorial. In this tutorial I have tried to explain you how to make a to-do list from only JavaScript, HTML, and some basic CSS. So thank you. Have a great day. Okay, let's okay I had an idea. Sorry, no, bye. I had an idea. Let's try it to remove this. Let's give it a remove button. Okay, And to do this, basically what we can do is let create another thing called container. So container is equal to document dot create element. Okay, let's do it something. Okay, let's do it. Let container is equal to document dot create element. Let's call it a div. Why we are doing this? Because we want to store everything inside a div. This the checkbox and the buttons will be checkbox and the clear button will be inside the div, so that justify content space between separates these two, and these the button and the checkbox remain in the right side. So basically we'll say font dot append. We want to append what we want to append basically the checkbox and a button basically. So that button will be here. So let's create a button. So let's call it clear button, delete button actually. So let delete is equal to a document dot create element button. Basically the button is created. We have done something wrong. What happened? Let's call it del. Okay, delete is actually something, some keyword I think. So there you have a delete button. So we can set a text inside this. So we can say del dot I think content text. So text content actually, and let's call it delete. So delete. So this will be this will delete. Okay, and okay, and whenever this is clicked, so we want to say whenever del is clicked, so del dot on click, we want to say on click, we want to say that whenever this is clicked, simply remove that element from the to do. So how we can do this? So basically we can say that okay, how will we do this? This is something a little tricky. Year one, basically we don't have a function to remove element from the to-dos. So let's use to slice function. I think that will work. So to do a splice at index I one element. Let's see if that works or not. So we want to do this, and basically that's it. And we want to reload the thing, also reload to-dos. And once we have added this to this div object, basically the checkbox and the delete button, and now we don't need to add this checkbox to this to do element. We want to add this this container basically. And if you save this, you can see we have delete button, and we can use it to delete it. Okay, basically. So okay, that's great. That's not looking very pretty, but still you can make it your prettier business. So let's see that deletes or not. Oh man, that works great. Okay, but what, there's one problem. If we refresh this, the data is still there because we haven't saved it. So after this, simply save the to-dos. Okay, and that is basically it, I think, of this tutorial. So this is great. Add this, delete this, done. Okay, and one more thing, whenever you add, let's clear this so that to make it complete. Actually, I'm extending the features a lot, but still we have to make something good basically. After doing all these, after saving the to-dos, whenever you click submit, we want to say that we have, I think we have text dot value is equal to nothing. So basically that will do the work. This is a dope to do. So add it, and you can see the value has been cleared. So basically that's how you make a to-do list in only using you can delete it and all those things. So basically that's how you make a to-do list only using JavaScript, HTML, CSS. Thank you, have a great day, and okay, enjoy this new year. Bye bye.